A new weekday activity is now available.
Ooh.
Sarah can use her free time to help the younger students with their schoolwork by choosing the tutoring option.
Ooh, what do I get for that? Patience. And knowledge. Okay, but patience no matter what I do.
Well, hold on. It says gain patience equal to knowledge. So if you don't have any knowledge...
Well, funny for them. Oh, for that week.
For that week.
Dang. But if I alternate...
What do you mean alternate?
Like, if I say that I get the first option the first time.
You get nothing.
Oh, yeah.
So
I really need to get the last one first.
You get the last one first, or you can just start by reading a book.
Yeah, let's read a book. So,
that'll basically guarantee you at least 1 point in this.
Yeah. What else are we lacking? A little bit of belief. But we're really lacking patience. Should I just go whole hog here?
10 is the max. Whatever you think is best.
Well, I could use some belief and some grace. What? Her belief is really low. Let's get some belief. Because I doubt anyone's going to be like, I need 10 grace for something.
Then I will suggest that you switch things up a little bit.
Do the diary early.
That might be the most preferable option.
Yeah.
That's probably about as far as I'll get when it comes to advising you on this kind of stuff. You need to be able to make your decisions.
Yeah. It's a little ominous. Okay. Done. Yeah, that's right. Rack it up. This is a good week. Okay, well, a little overkill, but... Okay, well, you know what? I had the smartest of them all. Well... I'm patient and I'm dang smart.
So, to balance this out, you have to think, for your weekly activities, you gained an average of 1 patience per day. That was all your benefit. I hope it pays off.
Luckily, I'm very patient. I'm not going to be bitter about that. All right, here we go.
When Sarah came down the stairs, she found Jessie holding the most curious item. It resembled a long wooden spoon, though somewhat thicker in the shaft and with a solid round end instead of a bowl.
What are you doing with that?
That's the headset. Jessie turned the object over in her hands. Oh yeah, it says me.
You forgot you're a girl. I know, it's okay.
Whatever. Oh, Sarah, isn't it interesting? It's from India.
I know.
I've heard there are societies for gentlemen and ladies. Separate, of course, where they all have wooden clubs like these and swing them to strengthen their arms. Or even throw them at each other. Isn't that quaint?
Are you sure that they throw them at each other? In India, the jugglers throw them up in the air and catch them again.
Oh, I don't know. She looked at the solid wooden shape she held, and then up at Miss Minchin's painted ceiling. Perhaps I ought not to try that.
Where did you get it from?
Lavinia gave it to me. For a moment, she cradled the club in her arms, as if it were a doll. She wouldn't tell me anything about it, though. She told me to take it if I was so interested, and she would say nothing more. Jessie let the length dangle down from her hand and swung it gently back and forth. It doesn't seem like such hard work. Her eyes glinted for a moment with strange emotion. Imagine the blow if you struck a man with this.
What? Why?
No, it was a foolish thought, nothing more. I was thinking of chariots and queens. We are not soldiers and have no need to defend ourselves. There are brave men for that job.
Like my papa.
Yes. You are lucky to have such a father. Sarah smiled, pleased to accept any compliments for her beloved papa, and thought no more of it.
Okay, so I do. Oh, she lost her chance. We'll never get to play cricket or whatever it is they're playing.
What?
What's the stick that she has? It sounds like it's a game of...
Juggling?
Yeah, but it sounds like also like a bat.
Juggling?
Okay. All right. I wish she would expire. Okay, here we go.
Well, that's harsh.
Her event. I'm never going to choose her. Leave the other options open. I don't know who this is, though.
Maybe she's so mean because you're not being nice to her.
Yeah, well. There's more important people than her.
Well, you paid attention to everybody at least once, but you've never once given her the time of day. No wonder she's so bratty towards you.
She never asked me the time of day.
Sara lay on her bed, resting her cheek against the cool fabric of her pillow. The light of the mid-morning sun gleamed where it touched the surfaces in her room, gilding them with a fairy's brush.
Perhaps if I lay still long enough, I will catch sight of a fairy coming to visit me.
Or Emily running across the room.
They haven't mentioned her in a while. I don't know where she is.
The next face she saw was not that of a visiting fairy. Do you try to catch your dreams, mademoiselle? I can leave you to sleep.
I've tried in the past to go back to the same dream, but it never seems to work. Or if it does work, I can't remember it. You don't always remember in dreams.
She shifted position, curling onto her side.
I just don't feel like getting up today. I'm sorry.
Let me see. She laid her dark hand against Sara's forehead. You may be a little warm. I cannot tell. Does your throat hurt?
No, I'm only tired.
It is better to prevent than to heal. I will fetch you some porridge and salt and water. She bustled out of the room, leaving Sara to contemplate in silence.
I do hope that I am not ill. It would be most unpleasant. I do not quite feel ill. As long as I think nice thoughts and don't feel ill, then I am not ill, I think.
Many young people would have difficulty remaining in their beds all day unless they were too ill to do otherwise. It was easier for Sara, who enjoyed spinning fancies in her mind.
I do not truly need to leave my bed in order to play out stories. In fact, with Mariette to bring me food, I might never need to leave these rooms at all. Like a princess bricked up in a tall tower, the prisoner of a wicked regent, who means for her to be forgotten so that he can steal her kingdom in peace. She would be diligent in her studies, even within her tiny bedroom, so that one day when she was rescued, or escaped, she'd be ready to take back her rightful lands.
That was a diverting fantasy, but it led Sara to a more practical curiosity. There was, after all, someone close to her who did spend most of her days within these rooms.
It's Emily.
Only most of Emily's days?
Well, she gets, she visits the others.
When Mariette returned with her tray of tonics, Sara asked,
Mariette, what do you do during the days while I am away? Since she's my maid and not Miss Minchin's, she should not be made to do other work. But she is always here when I need her, so she must not go anywhere else.
Oh, many things. She set the tray down. I'd look over your wardrobe and check for anything that might need mending. I might do a bit of embroidery on my own. And I do read your books. That is how you wished it, yes? I did not think to ask each time that I...
Oh no, I am glad someone else reads them. I have many books, and some of them I only read once, and I worry they might feel neglected.
Sara looked around the room at all of her pretty things, the gifts from her papa. They were all precious to her, but...
If you wish to, it is all right if you play with my toys while I'm in classes. I know I can trust you not to break them. But please make sure to leave Emily a little bit of private time when no one else is watching her, so that she can sleep and relax.
If Mariette wished to laugh, she was too polite to do so. Merci, mademoiselle. Now, sit up, if you please, and have a bit of breakfast. If you are too weak, then I shall have to spoon the porridge into you myself.
I'm well. I'm wonderfully well.
She laughed, for it was true. She did feel better. Once again, Miss Minchin prepared to lead her students back from church to the safe confines of the seminary. However, it so happened that on this Sunday she caught sight of someone with whom she had business to conduct.
Keep together now, girls. Form a line and wait here. Lavinia, dear, I'm counting on you to maintain order. I will be only a few minutes.
Yes, Miss Minchin. As Miss Minchin walked away, Lavinia raised her chin with pride. She did not notice the conversations going on around her. Look, Sarah, Mama. Why is that tower so high?
That is where they keep the church bells. They lift them up high so they can be heard from far away. There's a man who lives up there, the tower keeper. It is his job to watch over the bells and keep them clean and ready to ring.
He lives there? He never comes down? Sarah did not know how the tower keeper spent his days, but she had heard of wise men in India who kept vigils, and of Christian stylites who lived atop pillars.
No, never. The priests bring him food and water so he never has to look down. He tends the bells and he thinks about God. Because he's so high up in the sky, sometimes, if he is very lucky, the clouds part and he can almost catch a glimpse of the land beyond.
The shining city and the fields of lilies? At this point, Lavinia noticed the two of them standing with their necks craned back. Sarah Crew, whatever are you doing? You are gawking like foreigners. Sarah and Lottie lowered their heads, though, not in Lottie's case, without protest. We are looking up at heaven, where our mamas are. They live in a city with golden streets and fields of lilies that everyone gathers. And they watch over us and whisper to us, and they visit the man in the bell tower. Sarah told me. You wicked thing, making up fairy stories about heaven.
There are much more splendid stories in Revelation. How do you know mine are fairy stories?
You're lying. You didn't get that story from the Bible.
Read it for yourself. Streets of gold and gates of pearl, and many more things besides. Perhaps the lilies are my own invention, and perhaps they aren't, but I can tell you that you will never find out whether they are or not if you're not kinder to people than you are now.
What? But Sarah, perhaps feeling a bit ashamed of her burst of unheavenly temper, turned her head and refused to respond.
What to do?
Maybe you should read a book 5 times in a row.
No, that's not. I need belief. I need vigor. Toys give me vigor. Okay, let's do. So I have 2 shots of getting vigor that way. Leaf. Yeah. So I'll get some possibly there, and I can double it maybe. Okay.
Why do you seem so nervous?
Because I feel like stuff's happening.
Okay.
I don't want to get to the end and not be able to do whatever it is I want to do.
What?
I don't want to get to that part where I have to choose and not have whatever they need. What happened on Tuesday? Come on. Well, I got 3 points of stuff that was useful. I got more grace. I think my grace was 8, I think. So that, yeah. That's something.
Sarah had been out in town buying a new book, and as she rode in the comfortable carriage back to Miss Minchin's school, her mind was filling up with stories and histories. Quite unconsciously, she descended from the carriage steps with the grace of a queen, looking much grander than she might have imagined if she were the sort of girl to think in great detail about how she looked. As Sarah crossed the pavement, she caught sight of a dingy little figure down on the servants' area steps, a girl with a soot-smudged face peering up at her with wide eyes.
Hey, she's in the intro. Mommy! She has my eyes, look at that.
Okay. You were obsessed with finding...
This is the quest for mommy. That's the name of this game. Or like sister or something.
Okay.
But wait, no. What? Lily Princess, and we're talking about this is the Lily Princess.
What?
This is the Lily Princess.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The name of the game is a Little Lily Princess. Her name's, not Lily. She has nothing to do with lilies.
Okay.
This is her. This is it.
Something in the eagerness and timidity of that smudgy face made Sara look back. And when she looked, she smiled, because it was her way to smile at people. The eyes went even wider, as if afraid that she ought not to have been caught looking at a pupil of importance. The maid, if that was what she was, turned and scurried back into the kitchen, vanishing as quickly as a reverse Jack-in-the-Box.
Poor little forlorn thing. I wonder who she is. Me too, Sarah, me too. That's her. She's not available. Oh.
Maybe if you were only better friends with Lavinia.
Oh yeah, like she's gonna associate with the urchins.
Yes, you might have stepped in to protect the urchin. If you were friends with Lavinia. See?
No.
See?
No.
See?
No.
See?
Okay, how many times have I talked to Mariette? Twice? I feel like I need to... Oh. She's a maid. She's a maid. Let's roll.
So you're just going to go for a full crown of maids?
Maid be, I will. Come on, that was good. Don't be jealous.
Yes, that is exactly what I am. I am utterly jealous.
I know, I can tell. It's written all over your face.
Sara was curled up in her soft, comfortable chair with a book, while Mariette moved around the room, neatening cushions and setting items on fire with on shelves into orderly alignments.
I changed my mind. I want someone else's event. At least that's when you have to do the French.
Yeah, well. It was a book detailing life in faraway America and 4 sisters who were growing up into women. Sara found it well written, but less exciting than the histories and fantasies she preferred.
It is unfair for me to judge them too quickly. Perhaps they will have adventures when they are older. I have not had so many adventures myself yet, but I hope that I will someday.
As she turned the pages, she became aware of a faint musical sound elsewhere in the room. Mariette was humming to herself.
I wonder if she realizes she is doing that.
Distracted from her reading, Sara listened for a while, trying to follow the thread of the tune. Miss Minchin Select Seminary aimed to create well-rounded young ladies, but Miss Minchin herself did not place so much emphasis on music, and singing masters visited only infrequently. On the streets of London, one might see performers of various sorts, fiddlers, organ grinders, sometimes even singers, although the city noise made it difficult for such to be heard. These street musicians, however, were more commonly found in parts of London, through which a fine young lady passed through quickly and did not linger. Her ear tempted by the possibility of a new source of music, Sara asked,
What are you humming?
Ah, pardonnez-moi, mademoiselle.
No, you don't need to stop. It sounded pretty. I was hoping that you knew the song and could sing it to me.
I am not certain that I can remember all the words, but I will try. In a breathy voice, Mariette began to sing what must have been a children's nonsense song about a beautiful lady who was, in fact, a beautiful slice of bread living in a palace of butter. What? How's this
That's a little weird.
How's this different from your stuff like Old Lady in a Shoe and all that? And
She's still a lady.
And Bluebirds in a Pie or something. The lyrics were, of course, all in French, and 1 or 2 words referred to things Sara was unfamiliar with, like croquignoles, but she assumed that they were another kind of pastry.
Perhaps I should have Mariette buy some for us, if she can find them in London. There are likely to be more French bakeries here than in India.
Mariette's voice trailed off amidst a pile of confections. Ah, well, you see how it is, yes? I am sorry, it is not a proper song.
I think it is a darling little song. Where did you learn it?
Oh, nowhere important.
I used to sing it to my daughter. Who is you? It must be a common song in France. I wonder if it's something that my mother knew when she was a little girl. Oh, this is so sketchy. It's the mother or it's like older sister or there's something here.
Sure, why not?
I'm onto this, you know it.
Because she looks so much like her, yes.
They've got the black hair. It's something. She's related. I might have been off on the whole doll thing, okay? But there's something with this.
I think you were more accurate with the doll thing than you are with this. You look sad, mademoiselle. Was my singing so terrible?
No, not at all. It was very sweet of you to sing to me. I was thinking about my mother.
Ah, I am sorry. I did not mean to stir up painful memories.
But I don't remember her. Not at all. That is what I was thinking about.
This seemed a serious subject, and so Sara rose from her chair and stood with her hands clasped behind her as if she were giving a recitation.
I never knew my mother, so I cannot miss her. I do not know what having a mother is like. My father picked you for me because you are kind and French, as she was. So I wondered for a moment he meant for you to be a kind of mother to me, as I am Mama to Lottie. I could pretend it was so, if it pleased you, or if it pleased my papa, but it does not seem right somehow. You are not my mother, you are Mariette, and that is something all its own.
Mariette covered her smile with her hand. You are filled with thoughts, ma petite princess. You do not need to worry. I do not wish to be your mother. Sara nodded quite seriously.
That is good. I would not wish to disappoint her. I'm sure she comes out from heaven sometimes to watch over me. It might make her sad if she thought she had been replaced, especially when I cannot see her or speak with her to explain.
Would you like to see her?
What? But how?
Come here. Mariette drew Sara close in front of her. Close your eyes. Blind, Sara allowed herself to be guided by Mariette's hands. She was not afraid. She knew Mariette would take care of her. Now, turn and look. Sara opened her eyes to be faced with a full-length mirror that always stood in her room. There is your mother. Do you see? Your mother, your father, they made you. They are always inside you. Sara stared at her reflection for a moment, then smiled.
Mariette, I believe you are filled with thoughts too.
Then we are a pair. The weather was warm and fine, the skies of London unusually clear. As such, Miss Minchin had decided that the proper Sunday outing for her girls was a long walk through parks and gardens.
Keep up, keep together. A lady's health is also an important accomplishment. Apparently they're struggling.
While the temperature outside was not so great in itself, the ceaseless beating of sunlight upon little heads slowly made their Sunday dresses a difficult burden to bear. This is abominable. My complexion will be ruined. I may have to write to my father and complain. She adjusted the position of the parasol on her shoulder and sighed. No proper young lady should be forced to trudge about on foot like this. Is that not why we have horses?
Miss Minchin said that horses should have a day of rest on Sundays.
As if a horse would know or care what day it is. I deserve a carriage. It is the due of my rank. Lavinia was not the only girl complaining about the walk. Sara, Mama, tired.
Everyone is tired.
Sara, Mama, won't you carry me?
You have to walk for yourself. You're too big for me to carry for long.
Besides, it would be undignified. Our Sara may be many things, but she is not a horse. Perhaps you should ask Ermengarde.
That's cold. Lavinia!
What did I say? I was only pointing out that she seemed to be handling this walk better than Lottie is. Sara looked at her friend. True enough, though Ermengarde's cheeks were as flushed as anyone else's, she appeared to be walking steadily along without slowing or complaining. Aren't you tired and hot?
Yes. I always feel tired and hot when we walk back from church, so I'm used to it.
But this walk is so much longer.
It all seems the same to me. Ermengarde has great endurance. It is a virtue. A soldier must have great endurance and be able to carry on through much more difficult circumstances than this. A soldier might have to walk miles in the sun, in uniform, and carry a heavy pack besides, and be ready to fight when he arrived. Our lives are so much easier, but we must be good soldiers as best as we can.
If Ermengarde can bear it, then I can bear it. If Jessie can bear it, then I shall have to bear it. What's that supposed to mean? What did you mean? Nothing. I don't want to bear it. I want someone to carry me. You have legs. Use them the same as we are. I don't want to. No one is going to carry you, so if you don't walk, you'll be left here all alone. And then it will get dark, and the tigers will come out and eat you up.
There aren't any tigers in London. You oughtn't to make up things like that.
Well, she likes it when Sara makes things up. Sara spoke quickly to head off the thread of Lottie deciding to cry and fuss.
We will all have tea later in my rooms, and I will tell you stories. But first we must return to the school, which means we must walk.
Lottie sighed and carried on.
So, I need some stuff. I'm actually not maxed on knowledge for the first time in a really long time.
It's probably because you just spent it. There's no opportunity for you to...
I know, it's true. I think I'm going to keep it as it is, oddly enough. Done. I got my figure up. Seems to be one of the harder ones to get.
Alright.
Watch nobody need it.
The greatest power Sara possessed was her power of telling stories and of making everything she seemed about seem like a story, whether it was one or not. It was that power which Lavinia and certain other girls were most envious of, and at the same time most fascinated by in spite of themselves. And it was in service of that power that so many of Miss Minchin's students had gathered in Sara's jewel box rooms, seating themselves on chairs or cushions or rugs to listen.
The princess sat on the white rocks beside the lagoon with a shining white lily in her hands. As she turned it this way and that, she watched its reflection dance across the water below. The waters of the lagoon lay still, crystal clear and green as glass, but the princess could only see her flower in the reflection, and never herself. So she looked, until at last she saw a face in the waters. Not her face, but the face of a merman.
Sara went on to tell of the courtship between the princess and the merman prince, and the girls who listened sighed sweetly and leaned their cheeks against their hands or each other. As they listened, The door to the room swung silently open. You're grinning.
Yeah.
And that same dirty figure Sarah had glimpsed before crept into the room carrying a heavy coal box. Why are you grinning?
Because I'm good enough. She's coming to me.
The maid was cleaner than she had been on that other day, but seemed just as frightened. She hunched by the fire, afraid even to look at the other children or appear to be listening. She put on pieces of coal cautiously with her fingers, so that she might make no disturbing noise, and she swept about the fire irons very softly. But Sarah saw that she was doing her work slowly in the hope of catching a word here and there, and realizing this, she raised her voice and spoke more clearly.
The princess took her seat in the great clear bubble carriage, and a team of 6 seahorses pulled her into the ocean, their harnesses woven with pearls. Down into the sea they dove. At first the water grew dark, and the princess was afraid. But then, far below, fluttering and rippling through the depths, there shone a light.
The small drudge before the grate swept the hearth once, and then swept it again, and finally forgot to play at sweeping at all. The brush hung idly from her fingers as Sarah described winding grottos beneath the sea, paved with silver sand and lit by glowing sea stars. It was the choirs of mermaids singing that proved her undoing. The forgotten brush slipped from her fingers to clatter against the hearth and drew Lavinia's attention. What? That girl has been listening! The culprit snatched up her brush and scrambled to her feet. She grabbed the coal box and simply scuttled out of the room like a frightened insect fleeing for cover.
I knew she was listening. Why shouldn't she?
She isn't one of us, Sarah. It isn't proper to talk with servants. Unless they are upper servants like your Mariette. That's all right.
I wasn't talking with her. I was telling a story.
I do not know whether your papa would like you to tell stories to servant girls, but I know my papa wouldn't like me to do it.
My papa, I don't believe he would mind in the least. He knows that stories belong to everybody.
Nothing belongs to everybody. If it did, they'd all have to fight over it. Only loyal Ermengarde took Sarah's side.
I think Sarah should tell stories to whomever she wants to tell them. You wouldn't think it wrong if she told stories to Tybalt, would you?
I should think it rather odd if she were telling stories to a cat. Oh, please, Sarah, Mama, finish the story. Sarah looked at the room full of eager, upturned faces. No one wished to follow and harass the fleeing maid, but no one wished to go and invite her back again either. She would continue her fairy story, but she would not forget.
So close.
Maybe you blew your chance. Maybe if you had more friends. Maybe if you were friends with Lavinia, then that wouldn't have happened.
How does that make sense?
Well, like I said, Lavinia attacked the maid, so you could have been there, and maybe Lavinia wouldn't have done anything, and she'd be a new friend in your little group of friends.
I don't know. I mean, it does require grace, because I have to be gracious and talk to her. Ermengarde defended me. I want to talk to her.
Maybe she defended you because you're always talking to her.
Well?
Circular logic. Sarah and Ermengarde walked through the halls of Miss Minchin's together, hand in hand.
Dancing lessons.
She sighed noisily, her shoulders rising and falling.
I wish that being hopeless at books meant that I was good at something else instead. My father wouldn't be happy if I were only good at dancing, but at least Miss Minchin wouldn't look at me so disapprovingly. But there's only something else for me to fail at. I feel so heavy and graceless compared to the other girls. She is heavier than the other girls, but she isn't graceless. I think you move very well. You are always in time with the music. Lavinia isn't. But I don't look right when I move my arms, and the dance masters always frown at me. Jessie is the best of us. She looks like a flower in the breeze, like a gloriosa lily, because its petals are long and red and wavy, like her hair. They tell us we should try to move like a field of celandines. I never feel like a celandine. I know what a celandine looks like, and I have not one.
They reached Sarah's room and took seats upon the bed.
What is a celandine? I don't think we had them in India. Oh, a little yellow flower. That's the lesser celandine. They're not very tall, but the flowers are very bright, with lots of yellow petals, like this.
She held up her hands, curling her fingers around.
They come up early in the spring. They grow in great bunches in the woods, all over the ground. Mostly the leaves, but with little bright dots of flowers. The other kind is taller. Their flowers are yellow, too. Bright yellow, but they only have 4 petals. I may have seen those. I'm not sure. What flowers grow wild in India? Oh, many kinds. Tall spikes covered with purple orchids that nod down. Flowers with petals pink as lips that grow straight up from the ground with no stems. I don't know all of their names. I wish you could have brought some with you. If I picked flowers in India before I left, they would have died and fallen apart on the ship.
Ermengarde hung her head.
I'm sorry, it was a stupid idea. No, I wish I could have brought you flowers to see as well. Perhaps someday I will learn to draw and paint with watercolors. Then I could make pictures of flowers so I could bring them to show you. Can you draw? I don't know.
She held out her hands in front of her, examining the stubby fingers and their short, blunt nails.
I wouldn't expect that I can. Your hands are so delicate, Sarah. That's the way a lady's hands should be.
Sarah pressed her palm against Ermengarde's. Her fingers seemed almost the same length, but more narrow.
Well, Ellen's fingers are much rounder and shorter than yours, and she is still a lady. Your hands are stronger than mine. I'm sure there are many things your hands can do that mine can't. But you can do everything.
Sarah's eyes took on a mischievous glint.
Only magic can do everything. Imagine what I could do at this school if I really could do everything.
Looking at the hearth in her room, Sarah was reminded of the little servant she had seen before, and then she sent Emily out to go claim her. In truth, she had looked for the girl earlier, but had been unable to spot such a person anywhere in the school. If not for the disagreement with her listeners, Sarah might have thought she had imagined her. Sarah understood that it would cause disruption if she barged into the kitchen to ask questions. She had only one bridge to rely on.
Mariette, who is that little girl who makes the fires?
Ah, Mademoiselle Sarah, you might well ask. That poor little one. She had just recently been taken on as a scullery maid, though scullery is the least of it. She is sent to do every task that no one else wants. She blacks the boots and grates. She carries the coal and scuttles up and down the stairs. She scrubs the floors and the windows. I think she has not had enough to eat for years. She is older than her height would tell, and so timid. If I tried to speak to her, her little eyes looked to pop right out of her head.
What is her name?
I hear that called often enough. Becky, do this. Becky, do that. Everyone below stairs orders her about.
Becky. If life were a story, Becky might be the ill-used heroine, and perhaps a fairy godmother might come to her rescue.
You have a kind heart, mademoiselle. Your papa would be proud. Now, stand up straight. Let me have a look at you.
All right.
Just as I thought. You are growing taller.
I am?
Sarah looked down at herself.
I don't feel any different. How much have I changed since I've been here?
You are at that age, after all. I will have to alter a few things.
How tall will I grow before I see my papa again?
It's 11:30 p.m. Thank you very much for watching Trans play A Little Lily Princess. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
You look sad, mademoiselle. Was my singing so terrible? Was my singing so terrible? What?
He's Spanish now?
Fine. You look sad, mademoiselle. Was my singing so terrible?